Welcome to the Operatory podcast, the podcast about burying the dinosaurs in dentistry, moving past outdated technology and procedures to find a better way. This is Dr. Bryan Laskin talking to you today solo. I'm by myself. So unfortunately, my partner in crime, David Pryor, who usually provides the patient perspective, is not here for today's episode. And primarily because this is really not about patient's perspective today. It's completely about dentist perspective. And I want the purpose of this podcast was I saw a Facebook post, which is, I'm sure many of you who wander social media, and I'm not on it very often, frankly, but every once in a while when I am on, my entire feed is like dental things, as I'm sure a lot of yours is. And I saw a post that I just had to address. And this was, this post starts off much like lots of inflammatory posts, which is with three simple words: just my opinion. And so I'll read the post to you. It's pretty short, and then I'd like to kind of talk about the state of dentistry and where we are and where I think we should go. And so here's how the post starts. It says, "Just my opinion. This is the end of dentistry as we know it. In my decades of practicing, I have never seen anything like what is going on now. I feel really sorry for anyone in dental school now, especially if they have a student loan. Forget it. You are totally screwed. There will be a few at the very top that will do well, but for 90% of the docs and team members out there, it's time to either retire or find something else to do. Unless, of course, you don't mind working for pennies on the dollar." That's the post that I read that I thought, well, this is something we should really discuss on the Operatory, and really from the perspective of a dentist, not really the patient perspective. And it may not sound like we're burying dinosaurs here, but frankly, when this poster's opinion is dentistry's dead, basically, it's the end of dentistry as we know it, and we're all going to be working for a lot less in the best case. I feel like the answer is this dentist is right. I agree with him, and here's why. Because if that's your perspective, you're right. You know, it's one of those things where if you believe it to be true or don't believe it to be true, you're probably right. And particularly if you don't think about it, you're probably right. Is what I think he's probably referencing, and that. You know, we've talked about it on the podcast a lot. One of the reasons why I think it's so important to bury dinosaurs in dentistry and to move past outdated technology and procedures is to find a better way. But right now, it's not just finding a better way. It's finding the way. If we want our practices to be anywhere where they were pre-COVID-19, 2019 seems like, everybody's wanting to get back to where things were. I think we could get to better than the way things were, because as an industry, we were behind. And the fact that we have pressure on us as an industry will cause some to crumble and some will become the lumps of coal that become diamonds. That pressure will cause them to do things better, automate things, delegate many of the tasks that we do today to technology, and really up their game in a way that those who can figure it out are going to thrive. And those who don't, I think, are going to be for challenging times. This is not the period of time to bury your head in the sand and hope that things get better. They will over a long period of time, and there's going to be a sludge to go through, and then we all recognize that dentistry is not going back to the way it was before COVID-19. And frankly, it should not, because that's what left us vulnerable as an industry and as a country, basically. You know, we are too close to people's mouths. We're doing, we can elevate the care, we can increase our infection control. We've learned that we can do a better job, and I think that one of that all comes with an additional cost. But the good news is that the technologies and procedures that we're going to be implementing in our practices to elevate the game in response to COVID-19 pale in comparison to the technologies and procedures that we can also put in our practices that will elevate our experience for our team members, increase patient acceptance and satisfaction. and ultimately make us as dentists and more profitable. So I think that this perspective that dentistry is dead is true for a large portion of the industry. However, the opposite is also true. This industry has its best days ahead of it for those of us who do the work to make and really by work, I'm just talking about doing things a different way, which is incredibly difficult. And it's through this crisis, I know a lot of the listeners have incorporated new technologies like paperless forms and teledentistry and, automated their recalls and reviews. Maybe leveraging therapeutic VR, or you've got a KPI metric dashboard in place, or you switched over something simple like from film X-rays to digital X-rays to automate your workflow. You went from paper charts to digital charts, and you're probably seeing the benefits of those changes that you may have made during COVID-19. Let's say you did something simple like you are now no longer having new patients fill out their paper forms. You're texting it to them or emailing it to them beforehand, and you look back at that and you go, I can't believe we did it the old way prior to COVID-19. Or maybe you're doing some type of touchless payments, or you've done something. I would argue that now is not the time to stop. Keep looking for those incremental but practice experience transformative technologies and procedures that you can implement very easily to help deliver dentistry at a higher quality, more efficiently to your patients, and really change the way people are experiencing dental care. Because I do believe that this Facebook post is very, very true for those that feel that way. If your perspective is that dentistry is never going to be the same, 100% you are correct. Dentistry is not going to be the same. It's either going to be, if you try for it to be the same, it's a recipe for one of two things, either a slow or a fast death of your practice, in my opinion. Like he started off the Facebook post. In my opinion, if you don't change, there's only one direction you're going, and it's down. If we do, however, change, and frankly, we've all been forced to change, so that's every one of us. But those of us that adjust our sails to the winds of change, I think are actually in for a very, very bright future. So I just wanted to put this one out solo. Dave will be back, I'm sure, on the next podcast, and we have some fantastic guests lined up. But I appreciate everybody's listening here to the Operatory podcast is likely to be those engaged team members, those engaged practice members that just are focused on growing dentistry to be better than it was in January of 2020, and it will be better off in December of 2020. And I think that dentistry has a bright future for those of us that make those changes. But if you're one of those people looking at the industry and the state of the world saying, I don't want to change, I think this is dead. I think dentistry is not going to survive this. We're going to be working for pennies on the dollar, as the poster says. The original poster of this post says. I agree. I think if that's your perspective and you don't want to make a change, that's true. And it's interesting the comments that follow, just like every other. It's funny when you read a Facebook post and then you think you know the comments that are coming. Man, you're wrong, right? The posts were all things like, "Yeah, go ahead, and retire. There's more for the rest of us," which is a very, scarcity mindset, or the posts were kind of the responses were interesting to this original poster, but the key point is, I think dentistry has a bright future, but it's not going to be the same, and so clinging on to the way things used to be is not the way to go. So if you want to learn more about different technologies, we have over 100 podcasts that talking all about different technologies. And if there's one technology that you don't see with podcasts that you'd love us to weigh in on, feel free to go online on the Operatory podcast or theoperatory.com and let me know what you'd like us to talk about. Thank you very much for listening. Looking forward to the next one.